Chapter 4. The Big Snooze. Wanting to be someone else is a waste of the person you are. Kurt Cobain, you know who this one is, right? When I first started getting into self-helpery, there was lots of talk about something called their ego that confused the hell out of me. I always thought that ego was about being conceited and braggy and all. I'm gonna talk on and on and on about how great I am, and then I'm gonna show you my muscles. Meanwhile, even though arrogance and conceit, which are different from self-love and confidence, by the way, are part of the ego, they are not, as I later learned, the whole dealio. In the self-help, spiritual community, ego is used to refer to the shadow self, or the false self, or the self that's acting like a weenie. It's the part of us that's driving the bus when we do things like sabotage our happiness by cheating on our husbands or wives because deep down we don't feel worthy of being loved, or that refuses to follow our hearts and pursue an acting career because we're terrified to be seen for who we really are, or that goes on and on and on and on about how great we are and shows off our muscles because we're insecure and need lots of outside validation that we're good enough. In other words, there's more than one way to go on an ego trip. From here on out, I'm going to refer to the ego as the Big Snooze, or BS for short. I think it'll be less confusing. Plus, I think it's more appropriate, since the leading cause of sucking, staying broke, dating morons, uncontrollably crying in public because we hate our lives, is that we haven't yet woken up to how truly powerful we are, or to how massively abundant our universe is. Alrighty, so, moving forward. The Big Snooze operates according to your limiting false beliefs. This is the garbage that was stuffed into your subconscious as a kid that doesn't ring true for you, as well as the decisions you've made about yourself that are less than flattering or empowering. It gets validation from outside sources. I'm doing this to win your love. Your opinion of me is more important than my opinion of me. It's reactive. My circumstances control my life. I am a victim, fear-based, and extremely committed to keeping you safely confined within the reality you've created based on these limiting false beliefs, otherwise known as your comfort zone. The Big Snooze lives in the past and in the future and believes you are separate from everything around you. Your true self, or your higher self, or your superhero self, your non-BS self, on the other hand, is the part of you that operates according to your connection to source energy. It gets validation from within. I love and trust myself. This feels right to me. I have a purpose. I am loved. It's proactive. I'm in control of my life. I think I'll head on out and kick me some ass, love-based, and is committed to creating a reality based on your limitless potential as soon as you wake up from the Big Snooze. Your true self lives in the present, not stuck in your head, totally believes in miracles and is one with the universe. We all experience life in varying degrees from both perspectives, and while I seriously doubt there's anyone who's totally snooze-free, most people are so wrapped up in the BS that they're settling for realities that are way beneath what's available to them. Very few people are even aware of what's available, however, because we live in a fear-based society that loves to get all uppity toward people who wake up from the Big Snooze, blast out of their comfort zones, and follow their hearts into the great unknown. Oftentimes, taking great leaps of faith is labeled as irresponsible or selfish or insane. Until you succeed, of course, then you're brilliant. This is because watching someone else totally go for it can be incredibly upsetting. To the person who spent a lifetime building a solid case for why they themselves can't. I'm obviously generalizing, and there are plenty of people out there cheering us on, but one of the first things you might have to deal with when you decide to wake up from the Big Snooze and make massive positive changes in your life is disapproval from other people who are snoring away. Especially the people closest to you, lame as this may sound. They may express their discomfort in all sorts of ways: anger, hurt, bafflement, criticism, snorting every time you talk about your new business or your new friends, constant remarks about how you're not the way you used to be, brow furrowing, worrying, teasing, blocking you from all social media outlets, etc. Surely, are you really going to quit your secure, corporate job to open a nail salon when you've got 2 children, a mortgage, and high blood pressure? So few new businesses succeed, especially in this economy. Aren't you worried about what will happen to your family if you fail? Of course Shirley is worried about what will happen to her family if she fails. She wakes up every night seized by panic about it, but she's moving past her fear to create something she's really psyched about, rather than dying a slow painful death hanging around the water cooler with you, whining about how dry the cake was at the birthday party your boss threw for you in the conference room last week. Even though they are often doing it out of love and concern, having others smear their fear and worry all over you is the last thing you need when you're strengthening your superhero muscles to step out and take some risks, so I highly recommend keeping your mouth shut around people who are gonna bring you down. Instead, seek out those who are already totally kicking butt, or who are lifting up their foot to do so, or people who you know will be supportive, and confide in them. Because you'll have your own internal freak show to deal with as you try to overcome the objections from your own BS. The big snooze is like an overprotective Italian mother who not only doesn't want you to ever go outside, but who wants you to live with her forever. Her intentions are good, but fully fear-based. As long as you stay inside the familiar, risk-free zone of your present reality, the big snooze is content, but should you try and sneak past her to attend the rocking party outside, you're overprotective. Controlling mother is going to claw, scratch, scream, bite, hurl her body in front of you rapidly. Approaching new life, basically she's going to do whatever she can to stop you. And it ain't gonna be pretty. It's like when you quit smoking or doing drugs and go into withdrawal. Finally, you've taken a leap and done something that's going to massively improve your life, and for days, sometimes weeks, you feel worse than you did when you were a wild child. You're hacking up all this nasty crap, ridding your body of toxins, shaking, sweating, puking, wondering why on earth you thought this was a good idea. It's really fun. Same goes for when we rid ourselves of limiting subconscious beliefs that have been holding us back and take a giant leap outside our comfort zone. It's a detox of such staggering proportions that sometimes it can feel like the universe is conspiring against us. Trees fall on our cars, our computers crash, we find our significant others in bed with our best friends, we get our identities stolen, we get the flu, our roofs cave in, we sit in gum, when in reality, the big snooze is creating chaos in an attempt to self-sabotage and keep everything as is, instead of moving forward into unknown, yet desperately wanted, new territory. Every successful person knows this and has been through this. When taking great leaps forward, life often turns to shit before it turns to shinola. I realize this might seem a bit far-fetched, but remember, you create your reality. And you've spent a lifetime creating the one you presently have largely based on your limiting beliefs. When you decide to rewire these beliefs, go for what's truly in your heart and do a massive overhaul on yourself and your world, you're basically murdering the big snooze. And she is going to come at you, rolling pin raised high over her head, to beat you back into your old life. We are very powerful creatures who create our realities through focused energy, and should our subconscious mind decide to focus that energy at stopping ourselves from taking a risk because it's freaking out and terrified, things can get a little crazy around here. The big snooze will do everything it can to stop you from changing and growing, especially since you're attempting to obliterate the very identity that you and everyone else has come to know as you. Never underestimate the power of the big snooze scorned. Sometimes the big snooze sets up emotional blocks to try and stop us, Other times she gets physical. I have a client who decided to quit his ho-hum yet high-paying job to start his dream company from scratch. He had no idea where to start, what he wanted to do or how he was going to pull it off, and regardless of the fact that he had a family that was counting on him, no guarantees and even fewer leads, he quit his secure job and went for it because he was determined to create a life he loved. That's when the BS hit the fan. He got not one, but two flat tires after leaving a coaching session with me. His babysitter ran into his wife's car while driving his car, the water main under his kitchen exploded, and right before his first big deal went through, he got hit by a freaking bus. I'm pleased to report he's fine. But even with all those extremely convincing excuses to say okay, fine. Screw it, you win, he never gave up. Today he finds himself being his own boss, doing what he loves. Traveling the world, negotiating multi-million-dollar deals, making a huge difference in his clients' lives, being creative and setting an excellent example for his kids about living life on purpose. A record producer I worked with decided to build her own recording studio. She put all her money and effort into buying all the recording equipment, instruments, amps, soundproofing, etc., only to have the entire thing burn to the ground almost immediately after it was completed. Instead of closing the shades, getting into bed and sucking her thumb for the next 2 years, she raised the money she needed to rebuild an even better studio and is now rocking so hard that she gets to handpick the musicians she works with and basically live out her fantasy life. So if you finally decide to quit your soul-crushing job and start the pastry shop of your dreams, be not upset if a truck drives through your front window into your scones. Instead of taking this as a sign that you shouldn't have opened your shop, take it to mean that you're ridding yourself of your BS and moving in the right direction. Growth ain't for weenies, but it's nowhere near as painful as living the life you're living right now if you're not really going for it. If you want to take control of your life and turn it into something as spectacularly you as have the people I described above, stop at nothing. Have faith. Trust that your new life is already here and is far better than the old. Hang tight if the big snooze pitches a fit. Whatever happens, stay the course, because there's nothing cooler than watching your entire reality shift into one that is the perfect expression of you.